Section 1. Introduction: The Rise of a Nightmare. Nazism, short for National Socialism, emerged from the ashes of a defeated Germany. It preyed on the economic despair and social unrest that gripped the nation after World War I. Fueled by resentment over the Treaty of Versailles, hyperinflation and mass unemployment, the Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler, found fertile ground to sow its seeds of hate. Hitler, a charismatic orator, deftly exploited the anxieties of the German people. He offered them scapegoats for their suffering, blaming Jews, communists, and other minorities for Germany's woes. His rhetoric resonated with a population desperate for answers and eager for a return to national glory. The Nazi Party's rise was swift and relentless. They exploited democratic processes to gain power, using propaganda and intimidation to silence dissent. By 1933, Hitler had consolidated his grip on Germany, transforming it into a totalitarian state where opposition was ruthlessly crushed. Section 2. The seeds of hate breeding ground for Nazism. The roots of Nazism ran deep, drawing upon a toxic mix of nationalism, racism, and anti-Semitism that had festered in Europe for centuries. Hitler and his ideologues twisted Darwinian theories to create a grotesque racial hierarchy, placing the Aryan race at the pinnacle and demonizing all others. Jews, in particular, were singled out for persecution. They were portrayed as parasites, blamed for Germany's economic woes and accused of undermining its moral fabric. This hateful propaganda poisoned the minds of millions, paving the way for the horrors to come. The Nazis also targeted other groups deemed undesirable or inferior, including Roma, Gypsies, homosexuals, the disabled, and political opponents. These groups were subjected to systematic persecution, imprisonment, and extermination. The Nazis' warped ideology sought to create a racially pure and homogeneous society devoid of any perceived threats to their twisted vision of utopia. Section 3. Instruments of terror, the SS and the Gestapo. To enforce their will and crush dissent, the Nazis created a vast and brutal security apparatus. The Schutzstaffel, SS, originally Hitler's personal bodyguard, evolved into a powerful paramilitary organization responsible for carrying out the regime's most heinous crimes. The SS ran the concentration camps, orchestrated the Holocaust, and terrorized occupied populations across Europe. The Gestapo, the Nazi secret police, instilled fear and paranoia throughout German society. They operated outside the bounds of law, using torture, intimidation, and arbitrary arrests to silence any perceived opposition. The Gestapo's reach extended into every corner of life, creating a climate of fear and suspicion. These organizations, driven by fanaticism and blind obedience, became instruments of terror responsible for the deaths of millions. They epitomized the brutality and barbarity of the Nazi regime, leaving an indelible stain on history. Section 4. The Holocaust, Systematic Genocide. The Holocaust stands as the most horrific manifestation of Nazi ideology. It was the systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews across German-occupied Europe. Driven by a genocidal hatred, the Nazis sought to exterminate an entire people, wiping them from the face of the earth. Jews were rounded up and deported to concentration camps, where they were subjected to unimaginable horrors. They endured forced labor, starvation, disease, and torture. Many were murdered upon arrival in gas chambers, their bodies disposed of in crematoria. The Nazis' cruelty knew no bounds. The Holocaust was a crime against humanity on an unprecedented scale. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked hatred, prejudice, and indifference. The memory of the Holocaust compels us to confront all forms of intolerance and to fight for a more just and compassionate world.